A starving dog stood in the middle of a deserted road, refusing to move. When a driver stopped, she didn't run away. She led him into the fields. What he found there forced an impossible choice, one that would change every life involved. And that wasn't even the hardest part. Before this story begins, I want you to imagine something. You're driving through a place where cell service barely works. No houses. No streetlights. Just miles of open land and silence. Then suddenly, an animal appears in front of your car, not running away, but standing still, as if daring you to stop. Here on this channel, we share deep, emotional animal rescue stories inspired by real events, because sometimes, animals don't just need saving. Sometimes, they come looking for us. If you believe animals are capable of courage, sacrifice, and love, subscribe now so you never miss these stories. Like this video to help it reach someone who needs a reminder that compassion still exists. And comment below where you're watching from. I read every single one. Today's story begins in the wide plains of eastern Colorado, where a single decision on a quiet highway uncovered a truth no one expected, and revealed a bond stronger than fear. Stay until the end, because the final chapter will change how you see rescue forever. County Road 117 stretched like a pale scar through the prairie, cutting across farmland that hadn't seen rain in weeks. The grass was brittle, the wind relentless. Nathan Cole had driven this route dozens of times hauling feed between ranches, but that afternoon felt heavier than most. Then he saw the dog. She stood directly in the center of the road, tan coat dulled by dust, ribs visible, one ear torn at the tip. She didn't flinch when the truck approached. She didn't bark or move aside. Nathan swore under his breath and slammed the brakes. The dog stayed still. When Nathan stepped out, the wind carried a low sound, something between a whimper and a growl. The dog took a few cautious steps toward him, then abruptly turned and ran toward a drainage ditch. She stopped, looked back, and cried out again. Nathan felt it then, that tightening in his chest that told him this wasn't random. "All right," he said quietly. "I'm coming." The ditch led to a dry culvert beneath the road, shadowed and cool. The smell hit first, rot, blood, and damp earth. Then Nathan saw him. A massive male Great Pyrenees, white fur stained dark with blood, wedged awkwardly against the concrete wall. His hind leg was crushed, likely by a passing vehicle days earlier. Flies hovered around the wound. The female rushed to his side, nudging his head, whining urgently. Nathan swallowed hard. "She brought me here," he whispered. The injured dog lifted his head just enough to meet Nathan's eyes, and then collapsed. Nathan moved fast. He grabbed his jacket, pressed it against the bleeding leg, and called for emergency animal rescue. The female dog, who Nathan would later name Clover, never left the injured male's side. She watched Nathan closely. Not with fear. With evaluation. The wind picked up, rattling weeds and carrying dust across the plains. Nathan knelt there for nearly an hour before help arrived. During that time, Clover did something strange. She kept leaving, then coming back. Each time, she returned carrying something in her mouth, scraps of cloth, bits of insulation, even an old glove. She placed them carefully near the injured dog, building a crude barrier against the wind. Nathan realized then. She had been doing this long before he arrived. When animal control finally reached them, the officer shook his head in disbelief. "This dog kept him alive," he said. As they lifted the male, later named Ridge, onto a stretcher, Clover panicked, barking and snapping at the air. Nathan stepped in, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "It's okay," he said. "I'm going too." And for the first time, she let go. The emergency animal clinic in Limon, Colorado was quiet when Nathan arrived, the kind of quiet that pressed in on your ears. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead as technicians rushed Ridge through double doors, his massive body limp on the gurney. Clover tried to follow. She strained against the leash the officer had looped gently around her neck, claws scraping against the tile floor. Her breathing came in short bursts, eyes fixed on Ridge as he disappeared from sight. "No," she barked. Not loud, but sharp. Commanding. Nathan crouched beside her. "He's still here," he said softly, though he wasn't sure she understood the words. "You did your job. Let them do theirs." Clover didn't relax, but she stopped pulling. The veterinarian, Dr. Elaine Whitaker, emerged an hour later with blood on her scrubs and exhaustion etched into her face. "He's alive," she said. "But barely." Nathan exhaled for the first time since leaving the road. Dr. Whitaker explained the damage. Ridge's leg was shattered in multiple places. Infection had already begun to spread. He was severely dehydrated and malnourished. His organs were stressed from days, possibly weeks, of exposure. "If he had been alone," she said quietly, "he wouldn't have survived the first night." Nathan glanced at Clover. She was lying on the floor now, head resting between her paws, eyes never leaving the surgery doors. "She fed him," Nathan said. "Or tried to." Dr. Whitaker nodded. "We found grass, scraps of fabric, even plastic in his stomach. He wasn't eating for himself." Clover had been scavenging anything, to keep Ridge alive. The realization sat heavy in Nathan's chest. Hours passed. Clover refused food, refused water. She stood only when Nathan stood, slept only when exhaustion overtook her. Sometime after midnight, Dr. Whitaker returned. "We had to amputate," she said. "There was no saving the leg." Nathan closed his eyes. "But," she continued, "he made it through surgery. And that's something I don't say lightly." Clover lifted her head. Her ears perked. She stood slowly, walking toward Dr. Whitaker, nose twitching. Dr. Whitaker knelt and let Clover sniff her hands. "He's stable," she whispered. Clover pressed her forehead gently against the veterinarian's knee. Not gratitude. Relief. Ridge didn't wake up for 2 days. During that time, Clover finally ate, only when Nathan placed the bowl beside Ridge's kennel. She drank water in small, careful sips, as if afraid leaving him for too long would cost him his life. Nathan learned more from the staff during those quiet hours. The dogs had been reported once before, months earlier. 2 large white dogs roaming farmland. No collars. No chips. No owner ever came forward. They were probably dumped, a technician said. Too big. Too expensive. Too much work. Ridge's scars told a deeper story. Old rope burns around his neck. Healed fractures. Signs of long-term neglect. He had been bred, likely for guarding livestock, then discarded when injured. Clover, on the other hand, had fewer scars. Almost none. Dr. Whitaker frowned when she noticed. "That's unusual," she said. "She should have more wear. More damage." The answer came when Ridge finally woke. It was subtle at first, a twitch of his ear, a low groan. Clover noticed instantly. She was on her feet before anyone else. She pressed her nose against the kennel door, whining softly. Ridge's eyes opened slowly. The moment he saw Clover, his tail thumped weakly once against the floor. And then he cried. A deep, broken sound that echoed through the clinic. Clover answered with a bark, short, sharp, almost scolding. "I'm here." Ridge tried to rise and failed. Panic flared in his eyes. Clover moved closer, placing her body against the bars, anchoring him. Dr. Whitaker watched in silence. Then she said something no one expected. "He's not her protector," she said slowly. "She's his." DNA tests confirmed it. Clover wasn't Ridge's mate. She was his mother. She had shielded him from hunger, from weather, from predators. She had taken risks meant for him. Even when he grew larger. Even when he became injured. Even when it nearly killed her. Nathan sat down hard in the chair. "She stood in the road," he whispered. "She didn't hesitate." Dr. Whitaker nodded. "A mother rarely does." Clover rested her head against Ridge's kennel. And for the first time since County Road 117, she slept. For a brief moment, it felt like the worst was over. Ridge survived surgery. His vitals stabilized. The infection appeared to be responding to antibiotics. The clinic staff allowed Clover to stay beside him during supervised visits, believing her presence did more for his recovery than any medication ever could. But recovery is rarely a straight line. On the 5th night, Ridge took a turn. Nathan was asleep in his truck in the clinic parking lot when his phone rang. The sound jolted him awake instantly. He knew before answering. "Mr. Cole," Dr. Whitaker said, her voice tight. "You need to come inside. Now." Ridge had developed complications, internal bleeding near the amputation site. His heart rate was erratic. His breathing shallow. Alarms sounded softly in the background as staff moved with quiet urgency. Clover sensed it before anyone said a word. She paced relentlessly, telling anyone who would listen that something was wrong. When the doors closed again and Ridge was rushed back into surgery, Clover howled, a sound so raw it stopped the technicians in their tracks. Nathan knelt beside her, wrapping his arms around her trembling body. "He's fighting," he whispered. "Just like you taught him." Hours passed in agonizing silence. Dr. Whitaker finally emerged near dawn. "We stopped the bleeding," she said. "But his body is exhausted. If he makes it through the next 12 hours, he has a chance." Nathan nodded, throat tight. Clover didn't celebrate. She returned to her place by the kennel and lay down, eyes fixed on Ridge's still form. She wasn't done guarding him. Morning brought sunlight through the clinic windows, and a decision Nathan hadn't expected to face. Animal Control arrived with paperwork. Because Ridge required long-term medical care and rehabilitation, the county needed to know who would assume responsibility. Shelter transfer was an option. Foster placement was another. But Clover complicated everything. "She won't leave him," the officer said quietly. "And he won't recover without her." Nathan stared at the forms in his hands. He'd never planned on adopting dogs, let alone 2 massive livestock guardians, one of them disabled. His life was simple, quiet, predictable. Clover made the choice for him. When the officer tried to leash her and guide her toward the holding area, Clover planted herself in front of Ridge's kennel, legs wide, teeth bared, not in aggression, but in refusal. She wasn't threatening. She was saying no. Nathan exhaled slowly. "I'll do it," he said. "Both of them." The officer looked relieved. Dr. Whitaker smiled. Clover relaxed instantly. Ridge survived the night. And the next. Slowly, painfully, he began to heal. Ridge's world became very small after surgery. The clinic replaced open fields and windswept plains with smooth floors, white walls, and the steady hum of machines. For a dog built to patrol acres of land, the confinement was disorienting. His body ached in unfamiliar ways. His balance was gone. His confidence, once quiet and steady, fractured. The first time the technicians tried to help him stand, Ridge panicked. His front legs pushed instinctively, but his missing limb betrayed him. He collapsed with a heavy thud, breath leaving his lungs in a sharp huff. His eyes widened, and a low growl rumbled in his chest, not at the people, but at himself. Clover was there instantly. She pressed her body against his side, bracing him, steadying him. She didn't bark. She didn't fuss. She simply stood firm, as if reminding him where the ground was. Dr. Whitaker watched quietly. "Let her," she said when a technician hesitated. She knows his rhythm better than we do. Over the next weeks, Ridge learned again how to rise, how to shift his weight, how to trust his body. Physical therapy sessions became daily rituals. Nathan attended every one, sitting on the floor, encouraging Ridge with soft words and steady hands. But it was Clover who taught him the most. She walked just ahead of him, never too fast. She stopped when he stopped. She adjusted when he wobbled. At night, she slept pressed against his side, absorbing his tremors, offering warmth and reassurance. Nathan noticed something else during those weeks. Clover was slowing down. At first, it was subtle. A hesitation before standing. A stiffness in her gait. Then came the coughing, deep, rattling sounds that shook her entire frame. Dr. Whitaker ordered tests. The results were not kind. Clover's lungs showed scarring, old damage likely caused by prolonged exposure to cold, dust, and untreated infections. Her heart was enlarged. She had been pushing herself far beyond what her body could sustain. "She's been surviving on adrenaline," Dr. Whitaker said gently. "On responsibility." Nathan felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Clover had kept going not because she was healthy, but because she had no choice. Treatment began immediately. Medication, oxygen therapy, and for the first time since County Road 117, Clover couldn't be the protector. Ridge noticed instantly. When Clover was moved to a separate kennel for monitoring, Ridge became restless. He whined softly, shifting on his 3 legs, trying to follow her scent. Nathan brought Clover's blanket to him. He pressed his nose into it, breathing deeply, then lay down. Now it was his turn to wait. Days passed. Clover improved, slowly, painfully, but she improved. And one morning, when she was finally strong enough to walk again, the staff reunited them. Ridge stood, shaking, determined, and took 3 unsteady steps toward her. Clover met him halfway. They touched noses. No drama. No excitement. Just understanding. Nathan watched with tears in his eyes. He understood now. Rescue wasn't about one moment on a road. It was about every moment that followed. The waiting. The healing. The choosing to stay. The day Clover and Ridge left the clinic, the sky stretched wide and blue over eastern Colorado, the wind gentler than Nathan remembered. The truck bed had been carefully prepared. Thick blankets, water bowls, and a custom ramp built by one of the technicians who refused to let Ridge struggle. Ridge paused at the ramp. He stared at the open world beyond the clinic doors, the unfamiliar freedom, the space that once defined him. His ears flicked. His chest rose and fell. Clover stepped forward first. She placed one paw onto the ramp, then another, turning back to look at him. She didn't rush him. She never had. Ridge followed. The drive back to Nathan's ranch was quiet. Clover lay with her head resting against Ridge's shoulder. Ridge watched the passing landscape, eyes calm, steady, alive. As the truck slowed near County Road 117, Nathan felt a strange pull. He stopped. The prairie stretched out exactly as it had the day Clover stood in the road, grass bent low by wind, dust curling at the edges, silence heavy and endless. Nathan opened the door. Clover stepped out first. She walked slowly to the center of the road. And then she stopped. For a long moment she stood there, ears forward, tail still, looking down the stretch of asphalt where she had once placed herself between danger and hope. Ridge approached beside her. He didn't stand behind her this time. He stood with her. Nathan realized then that this wasn't fear. It was closure. Clover turned away from the road and walked toward the open field. She didn't look back. Life settled into a new rhythm on the ranch. Ridge adapted quickly. His strength returned. His confidence followed. He learned the boundaries of his body, not as limitations, but as facts. He patrolled smaller areas now, resting more often, watching from shaded spots. Clover slowed, but she was content. She slept deeply, ate well. Let Ridge take the lead sometimes. Nathan noticed something else. Clover no longer scanned the horizon constantly. No longer positioned herself between Ridge and the world. She trusted now. Months later, a storm rolled across the plains, thunder heavy, rain slamming into the earth. Nathan watched from the porch as Clover and Ridge stood side by side, unafraid. They were home. Rescue hadn't erased their past, but it had given them a future. And Nathan, who once believed he lived best alone, understood something he hadn't before. Some rescues don't just save animals. They save the people who stop. If you stayed until the end of this story, thank you. Because stories like Clover and Ridge's don't end on a road. They continue every day, in quiet ways, in choices we make when no one is watching. Clover didn't hesitate when she stepped into danger. She trusted that someone would listen. And because one person did, 2 lives were saved. If you believe animals feel loyalty, fear, and love as deeply as we do, like this video so more people can hear stories like this. Subscribe to this channel to support emotional, faceless animal rescue storytelling. And tell us in the comments, would you have stopped on County Road 117? Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Because sometimes, rescue doesn't look heroic. Sometimes, it looks like a tired dog standing in the middle of the road, waiting for someone to care.